said, I have a philosophy of curiosity, and that's largely based off of him reading The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He said it's a philosophy book that's disguised as humor.
Yes.
And you might, again, even say, like, oh, the answer to meaning of life is 42, which is like the surface level answer, right? But at the heart of it, I think it's that idea that the universe will give you an answer if you know how to ask the right question. And so how do you focus on asking the right question? Because based off of how specific your answer is, you'll get an answer like 42. But if you know how to ask the right question and in the right context, you can get some really powerful insights about how to navigate the world and what's actually possible.
Right.
Welcome back to the super secret Founders Drive.
Founders Drive.
You better not tell anybody.
Don't tell nobody.
Don't tell nobody.
Even though we told a lot of people.
Yeah, but don't
you tell anybody.
Yeah, don't you tell anybody. We're your secret. You know, we're your secret hookup.
Thanks for checking this out on Constance.
What's up?
This site's great.
You're on the right spot. Okay, so let's get into this.
Yes.
We were just talking about the well, actually, we'll do that after. We were just
talking about the man himself.
Yes, the man himself, Elon Musk. We were talking about the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
How that's a huge influence on Elon Musk and the way that he's thinking. I said this in the main episode.
Yeah.
That I've seen him mention this in no less than 7 interviews. And it's always brought up in terms of his philosophy on life, the meaning of life, and how he approaches life, what he keeps as fundamental. And that's so important when we're talking about the founder's drive, like what's driving a founder.
Yeah.
Is understanding what their philosophy is, what they deem to be important in every given situation. And he's very open about this. So that's something that I want to talk about. But let's get into the algorithm.
We should talk
first.
about it. You want to talk about the algorithm first or this
Let's
first?
talk about the algorithm first, yeah. But then we'll get into that. So stick around. Okay.
So the algorithm is the decision framework.
Yeah.
When it applies to tackling any problem. Some people might be aware of like Six Sigma. That's a really popular way that a lot of the, I would say, automotive companies and big companies do their critical thinking. They go through the Six Sigma process where you can get black belts and brown belts in this decision framework that kind of lets you dive into a problem, figure out where the constraints are, and eventually resolve whatever conflict you're having. Elon has his own,
and this is like very important in the context of business building and company building.
Exactly.
So just to give a quick high level of the different areas, the different steps, and then we can go into them with a little bit more detail in this super secret episode. So first step is question every requirement. Second one is delete any part of the process you can. The third step is simplify and optimize. The fourth step is accelerate cycle time. And the fifth step is automate.
Yep.
And this is the order that you should be going through. And so I'm going to go and add a little bit more context for each step. We can go by one, and then we can do a little breakdown like we normally do, and then go from there. So question every requirement. Each requirement should come with the name of the person who made it. You should never accept that requirement from a department, such as from the legal department or the safety department. You need to know the name of the real person that made the requirement. Then you should question it, no matter how smart that person is. Requirements from smart people are the most dangerous because people are always less likely to question them. Always do so, even if the requirement came from me. Then make the requirements less dumb.
Yeah, I mean, that famous story, right? Where he was asking the people at Tesla, hey, why is this here? Why is this? I think it was like noise dampening.
Yeah.
And they, the people were like, oh yeah, the people from the, I don't know, the drivetrain team said they needed that.
Yeah.
When it was the drivetrain team. Well, no, the electronic team said they needed that. And then, find out nobody needed it and you could just delete it and it would be way simpler for everybody.
Yeah.
Like those kinds of things where it happens a lot in the corporate space. We've experienced that. Ad nauseum, where requirements come in and nobody questions them. It's just like, this is what we're doing, and it'll beat you down to the point where you're just going to accept the requirements no matter who gave it to you.
We just need buy-in, okay? We just need some buy-in.
And that's one of the ways that a company can stay stagnant is not questioning these requirements.
Yeah, because It's just, I think, a function of the way people operate too. When you get a lot of people around together, there's this area where it's like there's groupthink.
It's deferred responsibility. I'm not making that decision. So I really like this fact where it's like, yo, who's that name? What's his social security number? What's his address?
Put it up there,
I'm gonna go find this person and ask him, why is this requirement in place?
There's a lot of ginseng Wong in there too, where he's like, we're gonna criticize publicly. And I think the whole criticize publicly is people's heads are on the chopping block here, at least in terms of the learning moments. In the sense that but the thing that I think about too is a lot of companies shoot themselves in the foot because they create the environment where those types of responses, oh, is the legal department, oh, is that deferred responsibility is the norm. Because companies try to protect themselves by deferring responsibility. So if you go to HR and you're in a company, they'll probably say, or if you go to your boss and you have an HR problem, they'll probably say, oh, go to HR or go to the recruiters or go here, go to legal. It's not my responsibility. And that allows them to fire people without the conflict, etc. But I think the downside of it is that when you actually need to fix real problems, everybody defers it to the other person. And so this gets right at that.
100%.
Question the requirements, question the requirements, question the requirements. So next is delete any part of the process you can. You may have to add them back later. In fact, if you do not end up adding them back, adding back at least 10%, then you didn't delete enough. Delete, 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 simplify, 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 simplify. That's a theme in the book too. It's the most recurring theme in terms of what Walter Isaacson catches about how Elon Musk conducts himself.
The simplification of
things. He's always talking about delete it. He was like, why are we doing this thing? Delete it. And that goes to the whole requirements thing. When you can look at the requirements, then you know, oh, this is not necessary. I can delete this.
One of the ones I really like for this story is the fact that they went to launch one of their rockets and some of the shielding had a crack in it. And obviously being compromised, you wouldn't be able to safely launch the rocket under those conditions. And so Elon took a look at it and was like, okay, like it's gonna take me like 2 or 3 weeks to get a new shielding put in place to replace this one. Like, well, the crack's at the bottom of the shielding. What if I just cut it out? Like, what if I just take my pliers and literally cut out the section that's cracked so that it passes the inspection, allows him to fly? He did it, and they allowed him to fly like that.
Because guess we didn't need that.
Yeah, I mean, if you take out the part that's broken, it's now no longer broken. It's not. It's not on the thing. And so it's just one of those things. I mean, that's a really simple version.
But I think it highlights it perfect. It's sometimes when you're in a situation and you're forced to remove something, and then you realize, I didn't need that anyway. We didn't need that anyway.
Yeah, or do I have to wait the 3 months or 3 weeks to get this replaced? Or screw it, I'll just do this and we can go now.
Yeah, 100%. So that's a big part of it. And I also think I think that's the first part of like the artist in me that calls out is my art creative process involves coming up with a lot of ideas first and then removing.
Gotcha.
Like if I would like, I don't do this as much now, but like when I used to shoot, take pictures and stuff, I would take a lot in a session, and then it was real, and I loved the process of being like remove.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and like getting down to the ones where I'm like, okay, I like these the most.
Yeah.
But that's something that I think applies in just different creative facets. There's this guy he wrote this book called Idea Flow, and he says that quantity first and then quality.
Yep.
Quantity is obviously volume and numbers, but quality is, are you hitting your mark? And that almost requires making sure that you're not hitting something that you're not trying to hit. So you have to remove that, delete.
Yeah.
And so that's to me, this is like kind of the artistic creative process that turns the businesses that he's been building and the technology that he's been building into the art that we're seeing right now.
When you said that, it reminded me of the Rick Rubin stuff, where it was like I needed 100 takes to know that the second take was the one I wanted.
Yeah.
A little bit different because you can't do that with business all the time, but definitely in terms of going broad and then deleting and then getting quality. Yeah.
So then after there it goes simplify and optimize. This should come after step 2. A common mistake is to simplify and optimize a part of the process that should not exist.
That's one of my favorite quotes from Elon is the amount of time engineers have spent trying to optimize something that just shouldn't exist.
It shouldn't even be there. Yeah. It shouldn't even be there. I'll say this another part too, in the music process, because I've just had experience in that too, is when you're making a song, there's a lot of layers and parts that don't necessarily need to be in there. And so you have to know what to delete and what not to delete. And there's a lot of times it's like that vocal is taking away from something else. And it's really interesting because one thing that I know Elon is really big on is first principles thinking.
Yes.
And it's literally physics. And
sure, yeah.
This isn't quite like 3D physics, but in music, especially in the production and engineering part of it, it's all sound waves and vibration. And so if you have like, for instance, 2 bass lines, you can, that's the lowest sound for people that aren't aware, but they can get in the way of each other if you don't, so you have to pick one. Sometimes it's like the song ends up sounding better when you just remove one of them because there's too much activity going on there.
Yeah.
So you have to know, but then on the higher end frequencies, you can add more layers in there without them conflicting. So it's, the analogy here is that you have to know where you can delete, and sometimes it's not worth trying to make both of these things fit. It's better to just remove one of them and then just optimize and simplify that one piece. And so I wholeheartedly see the benefits there. But then from a technology standpoint, coding and engineering, it's like, it's obvious there. It's like something, well, I guess it's not so obvious. That's why he made the algorithm. But
it's not obvious until you realize, oh, I spent all this time on something I should not even have touched.
Yeah.
Or I just hit the delete key, and that would have saved me days of my life.
And to be clear, Elon said, he was like, look, I've made these mistakes a lot of times.
Yeah.
And so this is not just born out of me being right all the time. It's also
lived experience.
Yeah, exactly. So jumping into this next one, accelerate cycle time. Every process can be sped up, but only do this after you have followed the first 3 steps. In the Tesla factory, I mistakenly spent a lot of time accelerating processes that I later realized should have been deleted.
Yeah, the one that comes to mind for me isn't as direct for this one, but it's the fact that he had to, like, let's say, ship his rockets across the country. Some people were telling him, well, yeah, like, it'll take you 3 months just because of how the roads are laid out. He goes, no, I'm gonna do it in like a week.
Yeah.
And he was able to, just by thinking about the problem a little bit differently, and was like, okay, I'm not going to be constrained by the toll roads or the geographic locations. I'm going to spend the money I need to get these rockets there, come hell or high water.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's like the only thing that's like, it's a little bit tangential to that point.
Well,
it's one that triggered my head.
You could think of in running with that analogy.
Yeah.
If you're shipping to a different destination and you're like, oh, that's actually not the right destination. Like,
sure. It's funny, he did that once. So they had a way to launch a rocket. Yeah. You could either stay stateside and launch in 3 months, or you could go to this really remote tropical island and launch it next week. And he was like so into this idea of speed and velocity that he was like, I'm gonna spend the money. We'll go into the bank account to ship all of our materials to this remote island to get a launch off
in 1 week.
And it was just like the headache and the amount of engineering that went into that. He was like, I should have just waited the 3 months. I should have been patient just to do it stateside because we have all of our materials, all of our people. Like, it would have just been so much easier. But I tried to rush it, and we paid the price for it.
Yeah.
So that was another one that I remember.
That's a really good example, yeah. It's like, so just knowing what you're trying to accelerate and what you're trying to speed up. It's knowing where the right direction that you're going. Because if you're if you're going the wrong way and you're going and you're going fast, it's like you're going fast, but you're going fast in the wrong way.
Right.
And that's not what you want to do. So I think it's one of those things where it's simple. It's a simple algorithm, but it makes sense and something that we should keep reminding ourselves.
Good too, that it's a simple algorithm.
Yeah.
If it was complex, I would be way more skeptical.
Yeah. It's simplified, and I like that. So then the next one is automate. That comes last. The big mistake in Nevada and at Fremont was that I began trying to automate every step. We should have waited until all the requirements had been questioned, parts and processes deleted, and the bugs were shaken out. And then when you do that, you can put that pedal down and you can go. One thing that's actually a very, very case in point example for us is that we're working with a lot of creators. So if you're watching this and you're a creator and you're using this platform, reach out to us. Because if you're using this platform, we've made it our incentive to want to work with you and help build and develop your career. And we've been doing that with a few different creators.
Yep.
And entrepreneurs that, you know, want to take advantage of the Constance platform. But when we were working on it with our editor, and we wanted to, of course, we move faster if one of the editors is doing the editing and it's not like me or you know, one of the higher up peoples that we work with. In terms of like the editing and the production, it was like a newer editor that we just got. We spent more time than I would have liked working on getting the actual templates and processes in place down, so that way now when we hand things over, we can accelerate and we know we're on the same page. We know what the actual requirement is, and he doesn't have to fill in gaps and get inventive about things that don't need to be, you know, there. But then he could also add his creative expertise in other areas where it was like, this is the sandbox where we want you to go crazy.
Yes.
But a big part of it comes down to this, like, kind of, I'm thinking about this process right here where it was kind of like okay, let's make sure that we're on the same requirements here.
Right.
Let's make sure that we can communicate and we get that right, and then let's go faster and faster. And I'll even say this, when I was talking with one of the clients that we were working with, it was, even I was assuming certain things.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe we just send a stripped down version of the piece that we're gonna produce first before we start anything down the road. And so it was like, the way that now that we're talking through this algorithm, I'm just seeing patterns in some of our work that we're doing.
I mean, I feel like I am in this all day, every day, just because of, and we also talked about this a little bit like Paul Graham, like kind of knowing when to do things that don't scale versus things that do scale. I think doing things that don't scale is in that spot where it's like, it's okay to do these things if you know that outcome is going to be a spot where you can eventually automate this. Right? Like, and don't be afraid to do things that don't automatically scale, because, you know, sometimes it's worth it to build a company, but then realize if you haven't done the 4 things that Elon said before, the automation's not going to do anything for you.
Scaling is just not the first process. That's like that, and that's where I'm hearing what you're saying right now.
Well, I had a conversation recently with someone who was like, well, why aren't you guys, you know, picking like a really esoteric, you know, technical decision, like, why aren't you guys sharding your databases this way? I'm like, okay, like, yes, we will get there when we have enough volume, but with the small to medium sized company that we are, I just
you can rationalize it.
The trade-off there just wasn't really in it for me, where I could say, I made the decision, I'm going to keep moving forward. I have it in like the backlog where it's like, yeah, once we get to that size, I'll be able to go back and do this. But there's trade-offs here, and so I can't simply sit down and try and optimize everything for an enterprise scale to begin with. You know, before I start, and that's, to me, is like, okay, I'm gonna automate everything before I'm doing these other steps in the process.
And you know, just before we shift over to the Hitchhiker's Guide thing, the thing that makes me think of is we have to know how to leverage our imaginations, because in our imaginations we want to think through the full process all the way to how is this going to enable us to automate, how is this going to enable us to simplify all these steps. But in the real world, the action world, we don't want to do that right away. We want to follow the sequence, and we always want to keep a reference of how our actions in the real world are affecting our timeline or the whole algorithm, and how that's actually going to end up playing out.
It's so easy to fall in the trap of like, I'm going to future-proof things. I'm going to do these steps out of order, because sometimes it feels like it's low-hanging fruit, but it's not. It's taking you off the path.
Exactly. But again, just to like reiterate, it's like we want to make sure that we do want to think about the things, but we don't want it to carry into our actions where we're expending our energy and we don't have to.
Exactly.
All right, so the last thing that I think about with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and the thing that I think people don't, I built this anticipation up, right? The thing that I think people don't really talk about with him is this is his philosophy for the world, and he says, we don't really know what the right questions are. The questions, not what's the meaning of life. The real problem is, how do we formulate the question? The universe is the answer. What is the question? The more we can understand the scope and the scale of consciousness, the more we can understand what questions to ask about the answer that is the universe. I have a philosophy of curiosity, and He said, I have a philosophy of curiosity, and that's largely based off of him reading The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He said it's a philosophy book that's disguised as humor.
Yes.
And you might, again, even say, like, oh, the answer to meaning of life is 42, which is like the surface level answer, right? But at the heart of it, I think it's that idea that the universe will give you an answer if you know how to ask the right question. And so how do you focus on asking the right question? Because based off of how specific your answer is, you'll get an answer like 42. But if you know how to ask the right question and in the right context, you can get some really powerful insights about how to navigate the world and what's actually possible.
Yeah, that's something that the reason that I like that is question the questions.
Question the questions.
That is the thing that comes out in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. If you have all the resources on Earth and have the supercomputer that can tell you anything, the information's only as valuable as the question you're willing to ask.
Yeah.
And so question the questions. I love that philosophy wrapped in humor or entertainment kind of take. I thought it was a great book and a great film as well. I would agree with a lot of that stuff, and I know that Elon found that stuff after going through some of the, I would say, mainstream religious texts, and trying to answer his questions there, and it was like, oh wait, no one's asking the right question actually. So yeah, question the questions.
Yeah, it's the question the questions, and one of my phrasings around questions is the quest is in the question.
There you go.
And so it's like we're going on an adventure every time we ask a question. It's either a mental adventure, and that can cause us to go on an adventure in the real world. But I think just embracing that's part of the universe's design can be extremely powerful. It's like, and he talks about this a lot. He's like, it's in the framing of the question.
Yes.
The way that we frame questions changes the way that the universe answers us. And so the more that we become aware of information, which when I hear him talk about the more that we understand the scale and the scope of consciousness, I'm hearing the more that we become aware of what's possible in the world, the better questions we can ask and the better quests that we can go on. And as we do that, the universe will answer us back. And so there's a really esoteric, but then also woo-woo aspect to this, in the sense that he's saying that the universe is very much alive.
Yes, exactly.
And yeah, so that's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know if people dig into that enough, because my immediate thing is what are some questions that he asks himself
or the universe,
right?
What's he asking the universe?
It's like, what are you asking? And I think that, again, it's very, 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 very powerful. Like it's very powerful thinking about the world like that. He also said that XAI's Grok is modeled after that philosophy.
Yeah, right.
In terms of like finding the right question. So that was the last thing. I think it's very, very powerful. I think when you dig in deep enough, taking that little philosophy can be extremely powerful. And yeah.
Elon's a fantastic mind. So I have no doubt we'll be able to see him again on these drives and be able to learn even more from what he does in the future.
Yes. Might be doing this in an autonomous Tesla one day.
That'd be awesome.
Right?
Little robo-taxi.
Yeah. Cool. Next time on Founders Drive, we'll holler at you.
Peace.